Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. So today what I'm doing is I'm trying to debug this real-time clock thing here. So let me just show you this really quick. I'm trying to do this clock project and let's see, let me show this. Hello. Dual digit, top digit. Yeah, this one. So I'm trying to do this, clock, make it out of these tubes that I have over here, these vacuum fluorescent displays, sort of Nixie-like. And so I'm trying to, build this clock. So right now I'm in this, there's a PIC, I have a PIC curiosity board, and I'm using that to drive all this. And what it has is a real-time clock in there. Now, this real-time clock circuit is something like this. Basically, the idea is this is going to keep track of time. So basically, inside these chips, you have a clock running. You can have an external oscillator. It's got an internal one too. And it'll just be running, and it'll basically keep track of time. You can initialize the time to a particular year, date, and then it's got a full calendar built in there out to like 2100 or something like that. And so what it means is you can program it with the current day, time, and everything, and it will handle, it basically has the whole calendar programmed in there, so it will handle, incrementing it, hours, minutes, seconds, all that, but also, days of the week, the day, and it'll handle, the leap year and all that stuff. So basically that's what I'm trying to get working. Now, the problem I have right now is this bloody thing is no matter what I do, trying to, looking at code from people on the web, blah, 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 the dang thing is never counting. Like I could expect other problems with like, the format or not understanding the format. But right now it's like, look, the clock's running and I cannot for the life of me get to see the seconds count changing. It's not enabled. So what I'm doing is basically, if you look here, I think you're seeing that, right? Yes, you are. So right now the digit's counting, and I have this basically using 8, 5, and 1. So what I'm doing is I just have a couple digits going on, 8, 5, and 1. Now the 1 is the bit that I want to check. So basically what I'm doing, because I'm getting kind of desperate here. So the way this works is like when you're debugging something, you tend to like think at things, you tend to like hold on to a bunch of assumptions, right? So you hold on to like all kinds of assumptions, blah, blah, blah. And then, so you start kind of at high level things, but then at a certain point, like where I've been working on this for a little while now, and it's still not working. And it just like, you feel like you're in the Twilight Zone or something. That's an old TV show where these things are very strange, really great show. But yeah, you feel like you're in the Twilight Zone. You're like, maybe you're in Mars or in an alien spaceship or something. You're just like, what is going on? So I'm trying to figure that out. And so what I'm doing here is, so that digit 1 is the value of the signal. Okay, so it's literally the value of a digital signal. So what I'll do is I go over here and I'm going to share this. Okay, so now I'm in my code in my main branch. And what I have is I have an infinite loop running in here, and I'm reading this real-time counter here. Now, I've gotten to this point. So I'm in this section of code here. What's happening here is I have this send digit, and the send digit is, basically this is where we're getting our 8 and our 5 from that you're seeing. And then what I'm doing is these are the registers. So basically I'm supposed to write this RTC write enable, and it's kind of a protect bit. You have to set that to 1 for you to then program or enable or write the other registers, supposedly, right? So what's happening is, even though when I run in the simulator, it looks like these registers are set by my code, I don't know. It looks as if the real-time clock is not enabled. So the way it's supposed to work, from my understanding, which it may not be, I may be misunderstanding it. That's why I'm going to test every little bit here. But when you set the write enable to 1, and then you're able to change the value, including enabling it, right? And so right now, this is where I'm at. So right now, what I'm doing is I go down here and I do send digit. And so basically this read value is just an integer, and I basically, here's the register, and then there's the particular bit in the register, and I checked, and it looks like it's giving me the value. It's directly going into this RTC, so the real-time clock control register bits, and it's allowing you to directly just read this particular bit. So basically what it's going to do, it's going to mask out wherever that bit is in the register and shift it to the 0 position. So you're just getting that bit or that field. And then I'm putting that out. So here, these are single bits. So basically, because I have the send digit, I have a little crappy logic analyzer here, right? So basically I can, if the value is a 1, it's going to put a 1 on my digit. If it's a 0, it's a 0. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see, I don't know which one's the 5 and which one's the other one. So let me try this. I'm going to comment this out. Okay, but what I did is, we can see now I'm looking at RTC write enable, and if you look there, it's 1. So that means that value is 1. So that's good. But let's see what's happening. What is the value of RTC enable? Now this, I need this guy to be set to 1. If it's not set to 1, it's not going to work. Okay, so what I do is I clean and build, boom. And what I'm going to do is click this button up here in this make and program device. So actually, I think I should just probably be able to click that. So what I'm going to see is I'm going to see what the value of this RTC enable bit is. Okay. So it's going ahead and doing its thing. So currently it's not finished loading. And at some point, program may verify complete. Now look at it. See, it's 0 now. So now we're getting 5, 0. So that 0 is, that's telling me that this is set to 0, even though I set it up here to 1. So something's wrong. So there's something I don't understand. So what, maybe I'm not able to enable it with the write enable. So there's like basic functionality here. And I have these delays, these 50 microsecond delays, because these, I don't know if any delays needed. I must say the documentation is pretty poor. And it seems like out there in the web, there's some people have, you know, they're putting delays in there and stuff like that. So let me do this. Let me have it write enable 1. Let me set it back to 0 and see if this write enable, if the RTC enable will get set to 1. Now, maybe I can't set it to 1 when I have the write enable protect on. Maybe that's what's going on. All right, let's try loading it and see what happens here. And I'm looking over there to my little screen. Sometimes I get this error. Sometimes it has an issue. But then usually I just build it again and it's okay. So this is like basically, you know, you get to a certain point where you're like, look, your basic assumptions of, you know, what is true and what is not true is like, you have to start questioning them. So look, it indicates that this real-time RTC enable is still 0. So it's still 0. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to clean this up. And what I'm going to do is just comment out everything. So I'm just going to go get the value. All right. Save it. And let me just try this one more time here. So we got, okay. I'm going to load this. Okay, so now you see I took out the 5, the digit display. So it's 0. So why is this RTC enable set to 0? Wow, that is messed up. And it's, okay, so this really is the key now. This explains it. So I know why it's not running, because my RTC enable is not set to 1, even though I set it to 1 right here. Now I can see that I set RTC write enable to 1, as I saw before. So, okay, so there's some fundamental basic thing that's screwed up right now. Let's see, what is going on? This is just doing the thingamajigger. Disable RTC. RTC cal. Wow, that's amazing. So basically that particular register is not getting set, even though I write it, or I think I'm writing it. So now let me go to the implementation here. So we're going to take this guy here, RTC write enable. Okay, so this write enable is going to use, it assumes it's at position 5, which is mask 20. So the question is that the case? So let me go look. I wonder if there's just a bug in the generated code. Like if that is not at that position, if it's at a different position, and for example, if I'm writing to this, but it's actually a read-only bit, then every time I read it back, it's not going to be set to 0. So yeah, so let's see what's going on there. Okay, let's share that. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get, I'm going to go to the section of the data sheet for the real-time clock. Go back up, this one. Okay, so let's see if we can look for this register. See here the description of it. Now let's see where this register is supposed to be. Okay, so what I'm going to do down here somewhere, okay, RTC control, RTC write enable. Okay, so let's figure this out. RTC enable is at bit 7. Okay, so it's bit 7. Interesting, bit 7 of that word. Bit 7. So if I go back to my other thing, okay, yeah, my RTC enable is at position bit 7 and it's size 1, so that should be okay. Wow. Okay, well, I have no idea. Hey there. So I was struggling with the real-time clock problem for some time there, but as we can see now, it's counting, but this is counting differently. So let me share the screen of what's actually going on. Let's look at our, not that, this one here. Share that. Okay, so what I found was that I basically had to sit there and go through everything one line at a time carefully. And so up here I have this basically in my main loop here, system initialized. This will set up the clocks. And then I went through all this playing around with these values. And this still didn't work. And then what I did is I went over here and I regenerated the clock. And what I did is I changed it from an external oscillator to an internal oscillator. And then I changed it to disable all these guys. And so what happened is I'm using an internal oscillator and I've programmed it and it's actually running much slower, but this is what really changed it. Now, what it turns out is that, so I'm looking around on the web, I'm like, gee, willikers, what the heck is going on? Driving me bat crazy. And I find this for magically this 16F156, that's the one I'm using. Oh, real-time clock and calendar. Let's see, new note is added to this section, okay? If RTC enable bit, so the root problem, right, is that I was not getting the RTC enable set, and because I was not getting it set, it was not actually enabling the whole module. Well, it turns out that what they're saying is that it may take time to be synchronized to the external oscillator clock until the external oscillator is available. So what they recommend, basically, blah, 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 is that, so what happens is you set the write enable bit to 1, and then you try to set the enable for the real-time clock. And then what they're saying is that you should wait because it will take time for this real-time clock enable to be sampled. Like it won't be sampled by the clock and it won't be processed until that oscillator is stable, okay? So apparently this curiosity board should have an external oscillator. That's what I've been running on, but for whatever reason, it didn't seem to work. So I reprogrammed it to use the internal oscillator, and what do you know? Magically, it works. So it's kind of funny. So I basically reprogrammed this, and then when I go over here, then all of a sudden I notice a few things. I notice that when I come over down here and I'm in the run clock, I was at that time, I was reading this value, the enable, and all of a sudden I noticed it started to be 1. But in addition, up here, I was taking the second bit. So I noticed it was going like 1, then I start seeing 3 and other digits. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's actually working. So this is what I have right now. So basically you can see that I'm actually getting the seconds digit. Now, this is probably not the way to really do it, but what I'm doing is I'm polling and I'm reading the, I'm just coming in here, and notice how slow this clock is compared to what it was before. You know, before I was counting 31,000 clocks, and now I'm counting like 10. So yeah, the oscillator frequency has really changed. So I'm not 100% clear on what I programmed that clock to as compared to what it was before. So I'm going to have to research that more and figure out like how fast the clock I want. But I'm just glad that now the real-time clock is actually running now. And so what's happening here is it's not always accurate, right? Because I'm not properly sampling this, but I am getting the second digits and I am reading it. So this function up here, RTC time get, I'm basically waiting for it to return a valid value. So it's syncing or something or checking it at the right time. And then when I get that value, this current time will, you know, is basically a structure that has the time in seconds, minutes, the time. And then I'm taking that out and I'm basically taking the lower digit and sending it out. Now there's some kind of question here whether, if you look here, it goes to 8, 9, then went back to 8. So I'm not sure, and then it's stuck at 8. So I think what's happening is that, actually it's not 8, it's 8 with the decimal point. So look at this, this is 8, 9, and then it's 8 with the decimal point. So that's the default value, which is everything on. So it's not 8, right? So yeah, so I got to figure that out. Interesting, very, very interesting. So I'm just glad that the real-time clock circuit is now working. As always, you know, it's question the assumptions, I guess, because I had a clock running and the clock was running, but the clock that was being, you know, used or by the real-time clock and calendar module was actually not running, and that's why I can never get this real-time clock bit set. So yeah, live and learn. So that's it for this one. Bye.